Our guest today on the My Fit Tribe podcast is Mary Theisen-Lappen, one of Team USA's strongest weightlifters and a rising force on the world stage. She just took bronze at the 2025 World Championships in Norway, beating last year's Olympic gold medalist. A Pan American Games champion and consistent podium finisher, Mary continues to push the limits of American weightlifting with her power, precision, and grit. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because, one, I love strong women. They're awesome. And I just love seeing the journey of people, getting into something that they love and then something that they're so good at is a challenging journey. And I don't think everybody understands the work and the determination that it takes to get there. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that a bit. Let's start with what is your athletic past? Were you an athlete in high school or, where did that drive start?
Yeah, so I started sports when I was really, really young. So my parents kind of let us try everything there was. So we started with soccer when we were really young. I'm one of four girls. I'm the oldest of four girls. So we started with soccer. I feel like every kid plays soccer for a little bit. And then kind of tried everything, tried basketball. I played softball, volleyball, track. I did basically all that stuff growing up. So when I got to high school, I kind of realized pretty quickly that if I worked hard in track, then that would kind of be a good way that I could pay for college. So I ended up doing that. Obviously, it sounds easier than it was. It was hard too, but I ended up doing pretty well in track and field in high school. So went to college, did track and field all through college, had a good college track and field career. And then I knew that I didn't want to be done with sports. So I knew I probably wasn't going to be a post-collegiate athlete when it comes to track and field just because we're so good at it in the US. So I decided to get into coaching. So I coached college track and field for a while. And then about 3-4 years after I graduated college, so I hadn't been competing in anything, I started weightlifting. So I kind of started that pretty late compared to the other athletes that I compete with. But I kind of had, with the track and field background, I had a good background with strength and power. So then when I started weightlifting, it was kind of, you need to learn the technique, but I kind of had like the basics when it came to being super strong. So that's kind of how that happened.
So with track and field, was it shot put or is there one that in area in particular that you really thrived at?
Yeah, so I threw everything. So I threw shot put, discus, hammer, and weight. And I was a national champion in the discus and a multiple-time All-American in the shot put and the weight throw. So I think it kind of depended on the day, like what my favorite was, because I was decent at all of them. But that was always my favorite thing, like was throwing. I loved basketball, but I wasn't super tall. I'm tall, but I'm not basketball tall. And so track ended up being the thing that I really loved and was really pretty good at. And my sisters all did track, and so it was kind of something that our family could do together and plan trips based on where we had meets and things like that. So it ended up being like a really cool thing for our whole entire family.
Very cool. I love, youth sports is so important in many ways, including spending time with family and the work ethic and the determination and teamwork and self-dependency. I mean, there's so much that these kids learn from sports. How did that translate in your coaching career where you're able to take your college experiences and help other kids?
Yeah, I think so. I coached Division III track and field when I coached. So I was a volunteer assistant at UW-Madison for a year. So I kind of saw each level and kind of like what was, expected at each level. But my thing was like I had coaches growing up that were not good coaches, like especially when I was a kid. Like I had coaches that had no business coaching kids. And not in like an inappropriate type of way, but I mean in a way that myself and other kids are, say, I don't know, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, and they're getting no opportunity to learn how to be a better athlete. They're just like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, so you're going to just sit on the bench. Well, that isn't really super helpful for a kid who's just trying to like find their how their body moves and how the sport works and how their confidence needs to be as growing up to be an adult. So I think that the things that I carried over into coaching were, yes, like I tried to be a good coach and tried to get my athletes to throw far and whatnot. But I always felt like I wanted to be the coach for the athletes that needed someone to like believe in them. So I think I used kind of what I learned as a kid and tried to use that as a way to make these kids realize like sports, especially for most people, sports is temporary. So at least as an athlete. So tried to use the things that I wish I'd had on the kids that I coached. So making sure they knew that they were worth more than how far they threw or how they performed or things like that. So yeah, I loved my athletes because they were good and things, but I really felt like they ended up kind of being like family to me, and I kind of tried to take care of them as humans. So
Mm.
I think that's why I like coaching the most. I still coach weightlifting, but I really enjoy the relationship piece and being somebody for people that some people don't have, like the support system. That's why I like it.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there is a mental game definitely with the coach relationship and how crucial it is to provide that mentorship and give those kids or even adults that bit of confidence that lets them believe that they can actually do something great and that working hard in accomplishment is just creates so much opportunity. It changes your vibration. And you're right. There are a lot of coaches who my kids went through the same thing. Well, sometimes it was you weren't part of the cool group or, you weren't good this year, but maybe your body changed the next year and you have more potential, but they've already feel too deflated to work hard.
Right. Yeah, no, I think like I had talked about this recently because I'm actually coaching second grade boys basketball right now. And there was we had our first two games on Sunday and we're not great. Like we got some work to do. But I really don't really understand how a second grader would be good at basketball. But my thing is like I'd like these boys to come in and just feel like I like playing basketball, I like shooting, I like learning, and just have a good time. But at one of our games, this mom was like screaming at her kid, and I was like, I feel like I almost broke my neck, like whipping my head back and be like, you can't be serious right now. But it's just like the way that some of these kids grow up and the way that like, it's not those are the kids that yes, they're really good when they're young, but they don't last, like and it's not fair to have somebody take that from them. So I think probably people probably get annoyed with me, especially with the kids, like you need to be more serious. I'm like, well, I am serious, like, but they need to have a good time and they need to have a good experience so they want to come back and play in third grade, and fourth, fifth, like second, third, fourth grade basketball doesn't matter.
Right.
It's learning how to be a good teammate and learning how like your body is changing and things because second grade body is not going to be a body you're going to be in for very long. It's going to change a lot very quickly. So it is. I wish people were more like understanding on what youth sports is really about, and I wish that more people had the experience to be able to have a good coach, and I wish people had, you know, I wish people could be like, you know what, screw that. Like I'm gonna just like keep trying even though this coach is like not nice, but it's hard. Like when people are mean and don't make you feel good, you don't want to be around them. It's hard to like want to sign up to do that.
Right.
So I don't know. Coaching is something that I really feel like I was called to do.
Mm.
And being an athlete has been something I've been lucky enough to do for as long as I have. But yeah, it's coaching is something that's very, very important. And I think we need to try and, when we have good coaches, keep them around because
Absolutely. And again,
it's
that
hard.
goes with support from the parents too. I mean, not to get too deep into the youth sports thing, but it is important for parents to understand that relationship is important, and sometimes not saying anything at all especially when, like you said, second grade basketball is not the NBA playoffs, so it's all going to be okay. So when you're competing as an athlete in high school and college and being so successful, how did it feel when you started to win? Because I'm a very competitive person. I did not do sports as a child, but I got my taste of it a few years ago, and not necessarily winning, but the competition side and doing well for myself, I should translate. That was really addicting for me to set that goal and achieve it. What did that process look like, and how did that guide you further along the way?
I mean, I'm the same way, like you said, like I've always been very competitive. So I think that's probably why, like, again, I won't go too deep into the youth sports things, but I think that's why, like, my sisters and I have had experiences as kids where the coach was just not great. And it's not like you're saying the coach is not good because you don't play. Like, some people are like, it's not a good coach because you should be playing. Like, it's really not a good coach because you're in fourth grade and you're not getting the opportunity to learn. That's why it's not a good coach. But I think that starting from that age, whether it's the fact that myself and my sisters were very competitive, or maybe we're just stubborn. But just like kind of proving those coaches and the parents of the kids that do play wrong. Almost like I want to show you that I am a good athlete and I am very competitive. So whether that competition was I want to win or I want to show you that I'm actually good at things, I think that's something that I have always kind of chased. Um, I'm not. I don't look like a typical athlete. I mean, I think I do, but like compared to what like the world thinks, I don't. I'm a big woman. I'm strong. I'm not like an Instagram like fitness model type body. Like, so I have a different type of body than a lot of people think athletes can look like. So I think that's another thing. Like I, I almost feel competitive to show people, that athletes can look different. And so I do love winning. Like I think I hate losing more than I love winning. I am very, very hard on myself, whether it's in the gym or just something random that I'm working on. Like I want things to be as good as they can be. So I think that I just like that feeling and I chase that feeling, whether it's sports or coaching or again, little projects I'm working on. I'm always kind of doing a little project or something at home. So, yeah, I think it's just a feeling that I've chased for so long. So it's not, I mean, I just turned 35 on Monday. So it's like I have a lot of years experience of like chasing that feeling, and I don't know that I can make it go away. So I think it's just, I'm used to it and I can't imagine my life any other way. So I'm sure when I do retire from weightlifting, I'll find something else that I'm like, want to be good at and things. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm
And
just,
happy
yeah.
belated birthday, by the way. So that's awesome. And 35 is so young from an old lady.
I definitely feel old compared, like I said, compared to all the athletes I compete with. Like even in the gym, like I train with, we probably have 10 kids in seventh, like sixth and seventh grade now. And so it's like, I mean, I could be their mom, and it's like, I, they keep me young. Sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes they get on my nerves, but but I just tell them like, hey guys, let's like, it's all boys. There's one girl and a bunch of boys. And I kind of just tell them like, okay, remember, like we gotta make the most out of the time we have in the gym. So we can talk about like what type of candy we love after training,
Right, right.
Like so no, it's good. It really is good. But I'm definitely older than most people that do what I do.
So there's a few things I want to delve into. So one is what I have talked to a lot of successful athletes about is the when you hit that success, and then let's say when you have to change course and find something new to be successful at, which is what we talked a little bit about, can be a little bit of a transition because some people just chase the same thing over and over again. The high seems to not always be as great sometimes, depending on the journey, where versus maybe chasing the feeling of the winning. So I feel like that might have been a transition that you made when you were successful in track and field, and then you made that pivot to weightlifting. So how did the success or your traction on for weightlifting start with being something that you do to something you realized you could really be competitive at it?
Okay, so when I started weightlifting, like I was exercising. That's what I always say. I wasn't training. Like I always say training is like when you're working like really hard. But other stuff I would consider myself like exercising. So I was exercising. I was like going to the gym a little bit. I was walking a lot, like with my dogs and whatnot. But when I started weightlifting, like I basically told myself like if you're gonna do this, like you're gonna do it like all in. You're not gonna just do it just to like go to the gym and have a fun time because this is a really hard sport. So I decided to go all in on it, and I basically had in the back of my mind, like, because I started pretty old. I started when I was 28, which is most of the people that I compete with are like 20, 23, 24. Like, so I'm starting the sport many years after these girls are already have been in it for like 10, 12 years. So I had a little bit in the back of my mind, like, because my coaches and people are telling me, like, you have potential to be an Olympian. And I'm like, mostly like 99% of me is like, you're full of crap. But there's a tiny part of me that is like, I always wanted to be an Olympian in track and field. And I wasn't like, I stopped doing track because I didn't think I could. And maybe I could have, but at that time, with the knowledge that I had, I was convinced I couldn't. So I start weightlifting and I'm really bad. Like I'm super strong. I can squat a lot. I can do the things that like make me strong, but I cannot snatch and I cannot clean very much. So those are the lifts that we compete in. So I have to get better at them, especially the snatch. So basically, I had to kind of tap into that feeling like I'm super strong. Like I have the base that a lot of people don't have. So now I need to really dial in on the technique and, be patient with the things that I'm not good at because I'm really not good at being patient with things I'm not good at. Like it's really easy for me to just be like, no, screw this. Like I'm not doing this. This is not worth my time. And it's a lot of time, especially at the time I was working full time on top of it. And then I went back to school. And so I was doing a lot of different things, and trying to do this sport that's like really technical and really hard. But yeah, again, I think I of course, and I still have days now where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, this is really hard. And I get really frustrated. And sometimes I just like have meltdowns in the gym. But I've gotten to the point where there's less of that and I can be more patient and know that you know, it's going to be fine. So it's definitely like taken me a lot of time. And right when I think I'm over the edge of like having meltdowns or freaking out, I have another one. But it's fine. That's like anything. Like my job is weightlifting right now, and people that have say like more normal jobs, you can call it, they have meltdowns at work too. So that's what I try to like tell myself that even on the days where things are not fun or pretty hard, I can tomorrow can be better. So
So I love the fact that you said 99% of you was like, I can't do that. But there,
yeah,
that 1% can get really loud and you think, what if I can? And that,
yeah,
in my opinion, is the seed that starts the dream, right? Like
yep,
maybe I can actually do something so amazing. For me, that was that little voice was like, that what if I can? It started and it got louder and louder. And then the doubts would come in and the meltdowns would happen. And I think
right.
for most of us who don't consider ourselves an athlete or, have those self doubts. We think that people who are successful don't think that way. Like there are other people that it just comes easy for them. So I'm glad that you said that you have challenging times even still with your success emotionally or mentally with that determination.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I have made a huge improvement on my mental side of things in the gym. Like for example, like the qualification process for me to make the Olympics was super, super miserable. And I spent like, say I trained 5 days a week, I probably cried 3 or 4 days a week, like at the gym. And especially towards the end when my body was really like really not able to recover because I had to compete so often. And like I feel like my mental and emotional and everything, all my mental, emotional, physical health, everything had just tanked. But I had to keep going to try and make this team. So I think like I look back on that, and I'm like, okay, if I could do that, I'll be fine, you know? So I think that dipping into the things that I've done that have been hard, or like I said, like when I first started weightlifting, I was working full time. And then I thought it'd be a good idea to go back to school full time as well. And so I was doing these things, and I'm like, even now when I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do that, I'm like, no, you have time, you know? Excuse me.
It's all relative. To give our listeners an idea of your success or what you're doing, can you tell us about like your weight category and how
Yep.
much you're lifting?
Yeah, so I am a super heavyweight weightlifter. So the next weight class is only 86 kilos, which I don't even know. I think it's like maybe 190 pounds or something like that. So the super heavyweight weight class is actually not that heavy, you know? But basically anything above like 190 pounds is super heavyweight. So um, I compete in the weightlifting, so it's the snatch and the clean and jerk. So my best snatch ever is 124 kilos, which is like 272 pounds maybe. And if, for anyone who doesn't know, snatch is the lift that goes from the floor to overhead with no stops. You just pull it over your head. And then the clean and jerk, I'm actually the American record holder in the clean and jerk. So I've done 100, well, I've done my best in a meet is 164 kilos. That's my record. So that's like maybe 361 pounds. I don't know. We use kilos because weightlifting is like a sport in the whole world.
Right.
So now I'm really bad at what it is in pounds. But yeah, so we had a little bit of experience doing the cleans and jerks in college, so I was a little bit more familiar with that one. Snatches is something I had to learn from the very beginning when I started. So I've always tried to like my snatches have always been a little bit behind, but even like I tell myself now sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so bad at snatching, but I've still snatched like the third heaviest snatch in American history. Like it's not like horrible. It's just not as good as I would like it to be. So yeah.
I'm sorry. That's amazing because you're the third most heaviest in American history, and you're like, yeah, I suck.
Yeah, no, that's basically what it is. Like I tell myself all the time, and then my coach is like so good at, and that's why I chose him. I've been with him for 6 years now, and he's really good at. He calls them like receipts, like you have receipts to tell you otherwise. Like you're like, or I'll tell myself, I'll say something, and he's like, "That's not true." Like, and he'll just like look at me straight up and be like, "That's literally not true. That is an an intrusive thought that is not true." And I'm like, and sometimes I get annoyed with him because he like says that stuff, but I'm like, oh, I guess you're right, you know? So he's like we talked about with like youth sports and stuff. Like, I mean, my coach and I are only what 6, 7 years apart. Like he's in his low 40s, and so it's like kind of like a friend relationship. It's a different relationship as it would be if you're in second grade and your coach is an adult. Like my coach and I are both adults. We both have families. We both have like adult responsibilities and things. So our relationship is definitely different. But he is just a really good coach for me because I do need somebody to remind me that stuff because sometimes I get in my head and things like that. And he's actually really good. He's coming out with a book actually about like basically the mental side of weightlifting. And luckily, I mean, I've been with him for way longer than he wrote the book, but luckily I'm like, okay, this is actually, I mean, he knows what he's doing when it comes to weightlifting and strength and all that, but I needed somebody that was going to like take care of my brain because my brain can be like my biggest downfall in the sport.
And you're one of the most successful, and you still have that, which again I think is so important because that intrusive voice in your head is very powerful sometimes. So it really is important that everybody recognizes, whether it be something simpler in their life or a major goal they're going for, that those thoughts are normal, and having a team around you to help you squash them is very helpful and important too.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. So like I do like some talks every once in a while at random things, and I always like try to remind people. And like for me, like I have a built-in amazing support system with my immediate family. Like my mom and dad, I talk to my mom and dad almost every day. My sisters are my best friends, like, and my husband's like this built-in awesome partner cheerleader guy. And so I always say like not everybody has that. Not everyone has an immediate family that is your cheerleaders for everything you do and to build you up and pick you up when you're down. And I think just like finding people that do that, whether it's people that you were raised with in your household or people that you met in school or teachers, like it doesn't really matter who it is, but like finding and surrounding yourself around people that are actually going to make you feel better. Um, and I have people like that aren't my family too, but I haven't had to like search for them as much as some other people. So I always like people will say like, "Oh, I don't have like a good family like you," and I'm like, and I always joke like, I'll share my family with you. Like you can have my family too. But I don't have a lot of times I don't have the close friends that a lot of people have. So it all kind of just depends on the situation and how people grow up and how they're raised and what their household looks like and where they what the situation was when they grew up or what they're like in adulthood. But there's always people you can find to support you, whether they're in the gym or at work or teachers or coaches, things like that. Um, and it can be anybody, just to find people that pick you up when you're down, remind you like you're doing a good job, even when you forget.
Yeah, I call it finding your tribe. And I think too, when you take a journey, especially, well, in business as well, but in athletics, even at a later age, you find people who are striving for a goal and end up having that same mindset because of what doing those things together. And you really meet just amazing people who help each other out and support each other. With your weightlifting team, how is it being a part of the USA weightlifting team? How has that been?
That's been awesome. Like when I first started, I had a woman in my weight class. So she was a three-time Olympian. She was an American record holder in my weight class. Like she'd been lifting forever, like almost 20 years. And then I show up and I'm like pretty strong, but I'm not hitting the numbers she's hitting, but people are like, you could. And I'm like, I don't know. So she's the one that I had to beat to make the Olympic team.
Wow.
And so I am constantly like chasing her, chasing her, chasing her, and we get along very well. She's retired now, but we get along very well. We have a history of track and field as well. Um, we know like our business when we're at the meet, like we have to beat each other and whatnot. But 5 seconds after we're done, we're like buddies and we're having supper together, you know? So that, like everyone that I've met on that team, like my weight class or not, like I've gotten to be pretty close with all of them. And now, like I said, like I've referred to my age a little bit, but like I'm quite a bit older than everybody on the team. And so people like come to me with things and they're like, oh, what should I do about this? I'm like, I don't know, like, but I try to be like the adult. But it is just like a really cool team and we love seeing each other because most of us are spread out all around. We have people from all over the country. We all have our own coaches. And then when we go to meets, our coach and us, like I will go with my coach, other people will go with their coach, and then we have like our main USA coach. But it's just like a lot of really cool people that came from different places and like different sports and weightlifting is like a pretty most people come from somewhere else, like whether it's CrossFit or track and field, or like most people don't just start as weightlifters. So they have like everyone kind of brings their own thing to the table. And everybody gets along pretty well. Like yesterday, we have this big group chat with a bunch of people. We're trying to plan like a camp, and the coaches aren't even involved. Like, I mean, the coaches can be, but like right now, we're just like trying to plan this camp, like just a handful of us. And like trying to figure out where we want to go and what we want to do and all these things. So it's a really cool group of people, a lot of different, backgrounds, a lot of different ages. The girls and the boys all get along really well. And so, yeah, it's fun.
That is incredible. So I just want to touch back on what you mentioned earlier in the conversation about not being what you considered that typical Instagram fitness per type
Yeah.
and the body type. And I think for young women especially or young girls, it's really important to talk about this because you can, embrace your body as it is and fulfill, great things regardless. So let's talk a little bit about that mental challenge and your advice for young people.
Yeah. So I feel like that's something that took me until very recently, like into like my, almost mid 30s is just being able to realize what's really helped me is to focus on what my body can do and not what it looks like. And the cool thing about that is when I did that, I like accidentally decided, or I accidentally now like what it looks like, And of course, there's days like I think even if you have this perfect supermodel body, there's going to be days where you're like, I don't like this, And so I do try to realize that, but just I like my body really can do cool things, and I just even if it doesn't have to be like, oh, I went to the Olympics, my body's so cool, like just being able to like, walk my dogs for as long as I want or like, do things that are everyday things because not everyone can do that. So Ruby, Ruby, I'm so sorry. Hang
No,
on.
you're fine. I love Vizslas. They're so cute.
They're cute, but they're naughty. You come
You're
right
not
on.
kidding. They have so much energy.
They really do, especially my young one. But no, like again, just kind of focusing on what my body can do and not worrying about what it looks like. But I've really tried to I like this year was kind of one of my goals was to kind of like find ways that I can like my body even on days when I don't. So like finding Ruby. I'm so sorry. They're parked out there. I don't know what they're doing. Come on. Come here. You come right by me. But like finding, like being more patient with finding clothes that I like, you know, like because it's not easy finding clothes. Honestly, I don't think it's easy for any athlete, whether they're big or small, or honestly, probably any person.
Yeah.
But being able to just like be a little bit more patient and realizing that if the clothes don't fit, it's not my fault. It's the fact that like no clothing company can have a normal understanding of a sizing chart,
Right.
you know? And so just trying to and even with clothes, like not worrying about what the size says on the tag, like things like that, because there's times in my past where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not this size. And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter because this is the same exact thing, but one size says 14 and one says 20. It's like that's not my fault that nobody knows what the number is. So I think just try not to compare myself to others, try not to compare myself to like what other people are wearing. Yeah, like trying again to just tap into my body's pretty cool. It can do pretty cool things. And yeah, I think that's helped a lot. I think, and I wish I would have learned it earlier. I wish I would have tried that earlier when I was younger because I was miserable when I was young, like middle school, high school. Like I went to a really small private high school, and so there just wasn't a lot of kids. So there wasn't a lot of kids to like look around and see. So like for example, like my junior year, first year for prom, I skipped prom because I was like, my mom and I went shopping. We couldn't find a dress. Like, and my mom and dad really had no money back then. And my mom was willing to pay anything to find it. So I just couldn't find one that I loved, and I knew what the girls at school were wearing, and I was like, well, I don't want to go anyway. I was like, I have basketball. I could go to basketball. Because I was going to skip an AAU basketball tournament to go to prom. And then I decided after shopping, I was like, no, I got to go to basketball. I can't skip basketball. And so it's just like, I wish I had that, like the attitude that I have now on what I'm built like and what clothes are like back then. Because I know I would have been way less miserable, but I didn't have like the life experience, so I don't know how I would. Um, but yeah, I think that that's kind of my role in the sport in weightlifting. Like I said, I got into it late. I've had a really good career so far, and hopefully I can finish it even better. But because I started late and because I've done a lot of other things in my life, I won't be the best weightlifter in US ever. But my goal now is to be like a good role model and be like a good person that people can look up to. And, a lot of weightlifters, it's funny, like, because a lot of them, they didn't go to school, they've never had a job, like, because they started so young and they found success so early.
Mm.
So a lot of times I'm like, I have more to offer in that way. Like, I have social skills. I have things that I can like offer other people. And so I've always said like, well, recently actually, that my goal in the sport is to be a role model and be like a positive person for people that they can look up to. And because the thing is like with weightlifting, especially with like me and my teammates, like there's a lot of times in the gym like we're not relatable, like these like a lot of us are so strong that it's hard to be like, oh, I can relate to that. So I try to be like more relatable in real life experiences because like if I squat, say I have a 500 some pound squat, that's not relatable to like somebody just like watching the sport. But if I'm like I really love these jeans and they don't fit and I'm kind of pissed off that they don't fit, like where do you guys find jeans? Then that's like more relatable. And so I try to make people remember too, like even though weightlifting, let's be honest, is a sport that not a lot of people care about. But it is like if you're in weightlifting, people care about what the top athletes are doing.
Right.
So I just try to just like remind people like we're just like everybody else. We're just like a little bit stronger.
Or a lot of it
So
stronger.
yeah, I mean, depending on the person, maybe a lot of it stronger, but
But I
yeah.
think that, when I grew up, which is a way long time ago, there was no such thing as strong women. It was all,
Oh,
stick
yeah.
thin, no one went to the gym, it was all cardio and all that. And so I'm so excited that it's switching a bit where women of all ages, especially as you get older, that lifting weights and being strong is something that people strive for, which I think is a huge shift in momentum and mindset and health to understand that you need to have muscle and it's good to lift and lift heavy. Heavy is relative, of course.
I think that's exactly right because like for example, like my mom is pretty small and her sisters are small and like my mom is going to be 60 next year like and my mom understands this because she's been around us and around sports, but like I've had to explain to like even my aunts and like other people their age, like you don't, first of all, I think some people that age are scared that they're going to go into the gym and walk out after one day and look like me.
I
You know,
know.
like, there is such thing as genetics. Like my dad is a big dude. And so like, but having like the really good base to age, like to have to start like getting older and like have the bones and the muscles so when you fall, you can get up and feel fine. Like, I mean, that's why I feel like so many people that are older, don't, especially women, like with osteoporosis and like different things, that their bones are just like foam by the time they're old because they don't understand that like you don't have to go into the gym and lift as much weight as you can, but it's really important to get your body ready to get older, you know? So I'm actually trying to like as I would love to train till 28, like for the Olympics in LA. But I'm definitely like in the back of my head have ideas on what I want to do when I'm done, because that would absolutely be my last meet. And there are things I would really like to get into, and one of them is like trying to figure out a way and a program and a way to get out how important it is for like women to be training, whether it doesn't have to be heavy, like just to get you ready to age, you know? And then just it's funny, like I had a video recently, like maybe a month or two ago, go super viral on Instagram. And there's most of the comments are nice. Like, I mean, there are like 600,000 comments on it. Like it's like very viral. And but the crazy thing is like yes, there's a lot of comments from men that are like, "Oh, you're disgusting," blah blah, because it's like it's me in a bikini and it's like talking about how everybody's a bikini body and it's a joke, like it's silly, It's like it's silly but it's got a message that I like to try to promote.
Mhm.
So yes, there's like men on there that are like, "You're gross, like you make me sick," blah blah. I'm like, whatever. Like it doesn't make me. But the amount of comments from like women that are like 50, 60, 70 years old that are like, "You're gonna die, you're disgusting, like this is what happens when you go in the gym," and like all these things. And I'm like, what? Like it's actually crazy. Like the meanest comments on there are from like people my parents' age, like women my parents' age. Like, and it's just insane to me because like first of all, besides the fact that like I can't imagine scrolling Instagram and finding a stranger and writing something mean on their page,
Right?
like that's like besides the point. But like the fact that like these women are like telling me how fat I am and how gross I am, and it's like you can tell I have muscles. Like you can like even if I don't, like keep your opinions to yourself. But like I mean, I'm not just like a big super big fat gross person. Like I'm like
One
I
of the
have a lot of
strongest in the
muscle.
world. Hello.
And so, but it is funny because people that will comment back and like, you just like called this Olympian like one of the strongest people in the world. You just said that to her. Like, that's crazy. And then I sometimes will comment back. I don't comment back on all of them, but I'm like, also, it doesn't really matter if I went to the Olympics or not. Like, you just can't really talk to people like that. But no, it is crazy like how many people don't understand how important it is to, even just have a little light set of dumbbells at your house and do a few things to make your body stronger, It doesn't have to be like go in and do 50 sets of squats as heavy as you can.
Right.
A lot of it is just like people don't understand that like your bones literally get stronger when you lift weights,
Yeah.
and set you up to be an older person.
Yeah.
And I wish they did.
Yeah. And I really do think that, again, with the messaging out there, I think if people, but hopefully people will understand that and continue to do it. And I agree. I've had people say that, well, I want to lift weights, but I don't want to be bulky. I'm like, do you know what it takes to get bulky? Like,
Right.
it's not going to happen. Like, you're fine. Trust
Yeah, no,
me.
people don't understand that it's like so much of other stuff too. It's like genetics and what you're eating and how like what types of workouts you're doing and like I mean, I had a girl that trained with us for a while and she definitely had some like pretty severe body dysmorphia. And I like told my coach, I was like, he was like asking me, he's like, "What do you think is up?" And I'm like, honestly, I think her worst nightmare is that she comes in the gym and she like looks like me. Like, I think she like but she was a really, really, really good athlete, like one of the best in the in and she was one of the best in her class in her sport in the country.
Mm.
And she was being recruited by everybody. And I just really just she did not want to get big. And I'm like, again, if you see my dad, like you would be able to understand like a lot of why I am the way I am is because my dad is my dad. My dad has super huge shoulders and a really big back, and he's just a big, tall guy. And so I think if people see that, they realize like, oh, maybe it's not all the work she did in the gym. But of course, like it's my job. That's how I pay my bills. Like I have to like work really hard in the gym, and if I have muscles to show for it, I don't care.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
it's a good thing for sure.
Yeah.
Let's touch base a little bit on Norway quick. If you want to tell our listeners about your trip to Norway and what you accomplished out there. I know we touched on it in the introduction, but if you can give us a little bit about how that experience was for you.
Yeah, so like I said in the intro, like we knew maybe 2 years ago that our world championship was going to be in Norway. And to be completely honest, like my my plan back then, like a couple of years ago, was that was going to be my last meet.
Mm.
And then after the Olympics, I took like a month or so off. And then again, I talked about it a little bit mentally and emotionally and physically, like my body and brain and everything was like wrecked after the Olympics. So I couldn't imagine myself training hard again. But after I took a break, I started getting really strong again and feeling really good. And so it didn't make sense for Norway to be my last meet anymore. It made more sense for me to be like, you know what, I'm just going to train for LA because to be able to retire in your home country at the Olympics, like obviously I have to make the team and I have like things I need to do for that, but it's silly kind of to not try. Anyway, so we ended up making a big deal out of Norway. I was there for about a week before I competed. It was quite a journey to get there. It was like I was joking, like planes, trains, and automobiles because we I flew from Indy to JFK, JFK to Bergen, Norway, and then we had like a long wait, and then had to take a 3.5 hour bus ride, and to take the bus had to get on a ferry, and it was just like it wasn't in like Oslo or anywhere. It was in a really tiny town, not tiny, probably like 30,000 people, which like isn't really that big a town. But it was the most beautiful place I've ever been. Like the building, I said I was joking with my parents before they got there. I said that it was basically like if like Lord of the Rings and IKEA had a baby. Like that's like what it felt like. Like all the buildings were really cool and like felt very, like modern and the infrastructure and the architecture was really neat. But then you look back and there's like an amazing range of mountains with waterfalls everywhere.
Wow.
Like it was just the most amazing place I've ever been. Um, and so I was there, like I said, for like a week. Right outside of our hotel, there was this like little Renaissance festival, which apparently it didn't end up being very popular because it was raining every day, which I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like the rain didn't even really bother me. But because that festival thing wasn't very busy, we got to go every day. So there was a river right there. So we would jump in the river, do a cold plunge, and then jump in this wood-fired sauna that they had. So it
Nice.
was just, like that's like a big thing they do over there. So we did it like almost every day. So we did that. I competed on the Saturday after I got there on a Friday, competed on the following Saturday. To be honest, I was not happy with how I competed. Like, I did not make as many lifts as I wanted to, and I didn't lift as heavy as I wanted to. But luckily, I ended up still getting third place, which is nice because that's a medal. Top three are medals. And then after that, my mom, dad, sister, two of my sisters have three kids each. So they can't really get to Norway with their kids. But my one sister doesn't have kids, so she got to come. And so my mom, dad, sister, and my husband and I went that night to an Airbnb, basically in the mountains, and I don't know how I found it. And it was very, very affordable. And it was a big house to ourselves. The Airbnb hosts were the most amazing people ever. I've talked to the one host maybe every other day since I got back.
Oh, wow.
They have a farm right there. So basically, it was the hosts were these people about my age, like in their mid 30s or low 30s. They got sick of the city life, sold everything, bought this beautiful, incredible, like property that doesn't seem real, and then turned it into an Airbnb. And so they have a barn on there. They have sheep, chickens, little pigs. They got pigs after we left, and the woman like messaged me and she's like, I want you to name one. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
God. So anyway, and like my parents, like my dad, I swear he was like, I've never seen him like this. Like he literally would like, because there was a beautiful lake in between these huge mountains right below our house. And he would just walk down by the lake and just like look outside. Like and we joked about, because my dad's like pretty Norwegian and my mom's like also Norwegian. And so we joked about like my dad going down there and just like being one with the earth,
right.
like at the motherland. We joked about it, but it honestly felt that way. Like it felt like we could feel that our ancestors were there or something. And my mom was even joking. She's like, why would our ancestors leave? Like, what were they thinking? Why would they come where we are compared to here? Because it was just like the most incredible, beautiful place. And my mom kept saying things like, when we come back, we're going to do this. And when we come back, and I'm going to order kayaks and send them to the house. And I'm like, Mom, this isn't our house. Like, and she like asked her Airbnb host to make her a sweater because she really wanted a Norwegian sweater, but they're pretty expensive. And so mom was like, I'll pay for one, but I want Talia to make it for me, and that
Oh,
was Airbnb host. So she asked her, and she said she would. So it was
wow.
just like it was a it was an awesome meet, like, but my family, like, even my parents, like, my parents never get to leave. Like, my mom helps my grandparents a lot, and she works full time, and my dad works full time, and he's been traveling a ton for work, and my parents just get very little time to do anything like that. So for them to be able to come over and be in that really beautiful place and spend time with us, and my husband turned 40 on the trip, and my dad turned 60 the week after, and it was just like, I don't know. I'm sad that I probably won't be able to go back very soon, but it was like a really amazing trip that I think I'll always remember. Like, and the pictures that I have from it and things like that. My dad got a tattoo. He's never had a tattoo. My dad got a tattoo
Wow.
there. Yeah, I know. It was like I was like, what's going on? Like, even my mom, she hates the cold more than anything, and she had this idea that she should do a cold plunge, and I was like, what is going on? I like text my sister at home, and I was like, Dad got a tattoo. Mom's doing cold plunges. I don't know what's going on. Like, I was like, this is like something's happening here that everyone is just like opening up like this huge can of worms. It was awesome.
It's like raising the vibration for everyone. And I love that you went there to compete, but what you're taking away from it was all the memories that you created with your
Yeah.
family. How important is that?
Yeah. No, it was just like, I mean, because my parents, they came to Paris. Like, I had a ton of people come to Paris when I competed, but like, I just was like in, like you said, such a bad place mentally and emotionally in Paris that I just was like, get me out of here. Like, I want to go home. And I feel bad because I just was not in a good place. I got fifth at the Olympics, but I did not compete well there either. And even my coach was like basically saying like we just had to get through that. You know, it was just by the time it happened, like I was there for a month before I competed, and I just like I think I cried every day, like
Mm,
in Paris. And so it just wasn't like a great experience. So when my family was there, like all I wanted to do was like hug them and leave. Like I wanted to just go home so bad, which is not really how you want to feel like at the Olympics, you know?
right.
So I think this one was like a really good like I don't know, like a second chance at feeling like really special in a place that's not home with my family.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would have loved for my other sisters, and my niece and nephews to be there, but it's like I said, it's. I have six niece and nephews under 6 years old. It'd be kind of hard to get them all over
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Maybe one day, maybe when they get a little older.
So before we wrap up, a quick question regarding the Olympics. So with the anticipation of hoping to compete in LA in 28, what would you take from your experience in Paris that will help you with that?
So I just had a meeting with my coach about this actually. Like we went on a really long walk one day and just kind of talked about it because I just told him I was like I can't feel like that again. Like I cannot if there's a chance I'm gonna feel like that, I can't do it. Like I just don't think I can do it again. And the good thing is and I've heard this before and I do feel like this, like there's already gonna be less pressure because I've already made the Olympics. So like I and the qualification is different each time. It's kind of annoying. They literally change the qualification every time. And so, and we don't know that yet. I think it's going to be similar, but my experience would be different as well because that woman that I had to beat to make the team in the US is retired. So it's definitely not going to be an easy road for me, but it would be different. And I do think that that pressure of knowing that I've already, made the Olympic team, because that last one, it was like, if I didn't make the Olympics, I would have felt like horrible and like a huge failure and things, you know? And so like now it's like, well, if I don't make it, I will start probably be pretty devastated, but at least I already made one.
Right.
Um, and that's something that no one can ever take away from me. So I think that I just have a better grasp on like what the process is potentially going to be like. And like I won't have to compete as much probably because of the woman that I had to beat in my weight class because only one per weight class can go.
Gotcha.
So and actually only three women in the whole US will be able to go. So there's five weight classes represented at the Olympics. I think maybe six now actually in the next one, and only three can go. So we will have three weight classes that are not represented because there's only 10 people in the world in your weight class that make the Olympics. So it's a very, very small group of people.
Wow.
So I think it's just I know more of what I don't want to feel like next time.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like do my best to kind of start that process even before the process actually starts to feel good. And, I know that what I need to do to make my body be able to, my body's actually like pretty decent for feeling 35 and being an athlete my whole entire life. Like, there's just things I know I need to be better about. Like, I can't ever skip my rehab of my shoulders because my shoulders, I've been doing overhead sports for 20 some years.
Yeah.
My shoulders, I need to take really good care of them.
Yeah.
So I just have like little things that I know are super important that I didn't have last time. Last time I was going in blind and I was like, this is going to be so fun. We get to travel everywhere. We get to go all over the world. And like by like the fifth meet, I was like, this is not that great.
Yeah. Different perspective. And now with the experience, you'll be able to take that in and make a
Yeah.
different approach to it.
Yep. That's the plan.
So I'm going to wrap up this conversation with a question that I ask all my guests. It's a two-part question.
Yeah.
So if you, Mary, today can have a conversation with Mary of the past, maybe it was the high school athlete, maybe it was when you took that transition between coaching and training for weightlifting, you can pick that past version of yourself. What would you say to her?
Um, I think I would probably go to like middle school, high school, Mary, that like I spent my whole like played so many sports, I did all these things, but I went through this phase where I just wanted to be as small as I could. And I look back on pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I was like, I look gross. Like my neck is so skinny and my head looks like it's gonna fall off my body. And I just remember being like feeling so like I had no energy and like feeling so hungry and like all the time because I literally was not eating and I just wanted to be small and I wish I could go back and be like you don't get this time back. Like, I don't get the time back as an athlete in high school when I get to play sports that I won't play again, like soccer, basketball, like those types of things. And I just wish I could go back and be like, you need to eat. Like, you need to fuel your body. You need to, like, it's not your fault that the clothes don't fit and all of your friends are small, you know? So I think that would be the biggest thing that I could take away. And I think that's why I've, like, learned to love my body now which is wild because I'm, like, double the size I was when I thought I was so gross. Now I actually like myself.
I love
So
that. And that's so important. And that also will translate into your continued success in your competing because you do have that confidence in every aspect of yourself. So now the second part of the question is if you, Mary, today can have a conversation with your future self, 10, 20 years ahead in the future, sitting down, probably at the gym, getting ready to do some more training.
yeah.
What would you ask your future self? And what do you think that she would say back to you?
What would I ask my future self? Oh gosh. Um, Probably something along the lines of like, I don't know, like why do we do this or something like that? And it wouldn't be like a bad way. It would be like kind of channeling all of the memories that I have and like the different things that I've done and like and again kind of chasing that feeling of feeling accomplished and feeling because I feel accomplished even when it doesn't have to do with sports, like when I went back to school when I was 30, like I got good grades in undergrad, but I got good enough grades to not get yelled at from my mom and dad. Like when I went back to school when I was an adult and actually having to pay for it myself, like I tried really hard and I got really good grades. So I think probably just like asking myself and reminding myself like why I do the things that I do. And just being able to, as say a 50-year-old or whatever, 15 years from now, reminding myself that it doesn't always have to be the same exact reason. Like it can be like I want my niece and nephews to see like a good, strong woman, that's like in their family. Like my niece is I have two nieces, but one is 3, so she's old enough to kind of understand what's going on. And I mean, she just like I tell my mom all the time. My mom actually told me, she's like, "You better have your records really hard because Margaret's gonna break them all." Like, because she's like this spicy little strong baby girl, and I think probably just like looking back and realizing like the reasons why I can do things can change. Like, it doesn't have to be I have to go to the Olympics or have to do this. It can be like I want Margaret to see like her aunt, how strong her aunt was and how awesome that is, and not ever have to wish when she's in middle school like that she wants to be small. Like I want her to, and my other niece and nephews too. Like I want them to just to lean into how they're built and lean into the things that they can be good at. So I
Well,
don't know. That's probably a roundabout way, but
I think that you're not only setting that example for your nieces and your nephew and your immediate family, but you're setting it for everybody who's watching. And, Instagram can be kind of a funny thing when you got nasty people out there saying things, but it also is a place where I call it a silent impact, where there's people that aren't commenting and aren't liking, who are seeing it, who are going, here's someone who is embracing their body, who's getting strong, not only physically, but mentally through the competition and kicking ass along the way. And I think that inspiring all those young women and everybody just to work your hardest, to do hard things, and to embrace all that you are is just a beautiful journey that I thank you for sharing with us. And we really look forward to watching your journey going forward, hopefully to LA in 2028.
Yeah, I would say like that would be like the perfect ending,
Amazing.
for, to be able to retire in I call it like a home game.
Yeah.
For how often the Olympics is actually in your home country and to have it be at a timeline where you want to be done, like that would be,
Gives me
it's hard to not, yeah, like I feel like I got goosebumps
goosebumps.
like thinking,
Yeah, totally.
like yeah, it's just, and like for weightlifting, when people retire, they'll go out for their last lift, they'll take their shoes off and leave them on the platform and then leave, and that's how people know they retire. And I always joke about like if I retired at the Olympics, like I would not leave my shoes on the platform. I would untie them and like kick them off into the crowd because I'm like I'm done. Like I'm good. Like I do not ever want to do anything this hard ever again. But no, if I could, that would be like the perfect ending to like honestly a lifetime of athletics that I've had. I'd be 37 at the Olympics.
Wow.
So to be able to compete at basically the highest level in my sports until I'm 37. That would be a
Pretty
pretty
cool.
cool ending and a good way to start whatever's next.
Absolutely. And I have no doubt you will do amazing things even after that. So thank you again for sharing your journey with us. We look forward to watching the future and we appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.